Hi there, this is Tanya Knight with Concerto Cloud Services. It's top of the hour and I'm going to get us started today. I just wanted to cover a couple of housekeeping items for our webcast and then I will turn it over to our presenters. So welcome to our webcast on overcoming cloud native barriers. We'll be focusing specifically on Concerto's containment management model that sits within our cloud management platform. So with that, if you'll take us to the next slide, Ron, I'm going to turn it over momentarily to Chuck and Ron, who are both on the development team for the container management solution. And before I turn it over, I want to let you know that this is an open forum. There is a questions tab on the right-hand side of your screen. So if you have questions that you would like to ask of our developers, plug it in there and I will keep watch on that throughout the webcast. And with that, Chuck and Ron, take it away, introduce yourselves and get us started.
Great, thank you, Tanya. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd first like to take the opportunity to thank and welcome all of you for joining us today for the webcast. We here at Concerto are very excited about moving forward with this offering into our beta, and we hope that you will find it useful and worthwhile in your endeavors. Before we get started with the demo, I just wanted to provide a quick background on Concerto for those of you who may not be familiar with the company. The idea for Concerto Cloud was born in 2008 and arose from one thing, which was a relentless pursuit of making IT easier for our customers. After scores of internal design sessions and conversations with customers and market research, we came to the realization that IT departments and executives wanted a single solution for their deployments. They didn't want pieces of the problem solved. They wanted us to solve the whole thing. It was from those roots that we fully managed application-centric Concerto Cloud was finally launched in 2011. Concerto's pursuit was to build a platform of the best possible infrastructure, a single tenant environment delivering outstanding performance without compromise, world-class security, and upgrades when customers want them. A cloud tough enough to ensure compliance right down to the application layer with no limits on customizations and integrations. As cloud matured, more and more customers were moving workloads into the cloud, and we saw very quickly that no one single cloud could meet every need that the customer may have, nor should it. We took this mission and invested in multi-cloud approaches to design and implementation. We began the development of cloud-native tools that could manage workloads across all cloud platforms through a single pane of glass, bringing cloud management, cost optimization, self-service, and governance to the customer's fingertips. Now we've finally added another feature to that set, and this is our version of our container monitoring and log management. Containers have become a big part of the new landscape of native cloud deployment and development, and more companies are taking advantage of this technology. We felt it was a necessary step to bring a single pane of glass to this technology as well. And today we're excited to demo this platform and invite you to be one of the first to take advantage of its capabilities. So just a few introductions to kick things off. My name is Chuck Dyer. I'm the Senior Manager of Research and Development here at Concerto Cloud Services. And Ron Masana, who is our Manager of Research and Development and also the Product Manager for this product. And I'm going to turn it over to Ron for him to get moving with the demo.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. So on the agenda for the webcast, we'll be first discussing what a container is, for those of you not familiar with the container concept, as it is relatively new to production IT deployments. We'll be discussing the new challenges that are introduced by the use of container technology that we definitely solve with our product, followed up by a demonstration of our container management module for the Concerto Cloud Management Portal. Finally, we'll have an open Q&A session for any questions that the attendees may have. So in the age of modern digital transformation, a lot has changed. There are a lot of new development processes and a lot of new infrastructure architecture. With that, container adoption is on the rise. We've seen through talking with our partners and with our customers that businesses of all sizes are rapidly adopting container-based infrastructure. With that rapid adoption and all the hype surrounding it, there's been a significant amount of technology gaps that have been causing some problems in the container monitoring space. Container monitoring is the key element in a successful production deployment, as it does produce unique challenges that traditional IT operations has not seen before. So what exactly is a container? A container is a lightweight, standalone executable package of a piece of software that includes everything needed to run on it: code, runtime, system tools, libraries, and settings. Containerization, which is being led by the Docker open source project, has been released since 2013 and has seen a rapid rise in use. So getting deeper into what a container is, on the left slide, you'll see the old traditional way that applications are deployed, where you have a kernel, which would be Windows or Linux. Above that, you would have your libraries that are shared amongst all of your applications, where all applications are sharing those same libraries. This has worked. However, there have been issues with production deployments where once a developer pushes his or her code into production, there are issues because the production environment does not behave the same as the development environment. On the right, you see the new way, which is deploying containers, where applications and libraries are packaged all into one area, segmented from each other securely, so everything that the application needs is in its container, and it does not matter what the underlying kernel has on it as long as everything is packaged within the container. So why should you use containers? So first, developers love them. We are able to build a lot of very great applications very quickly by using the container structure and rapidly speed up the deployment process. An application can go from development on a developer's laptop or development environment into a production container infrastructure within minutes and can be rolled out within minutes at scale. The number one issue that container itself solves is the problem of a developer saying, it worked on my laptop, I don't know why it's working in production. The concept of packaging all dependencies within a container are one of the main things that this solves. And moving to this new style of development and infrastructure, there are new challenges that are faced. The biggest challenge is that containers are black boxes and there's not a lot of visibility into them natively. It's all command line driven. You need to have a cheat sheet with a list of command line arguments to plug into a system in order to get the information that you need, and with no one single pane of glass giving all of that to you. The second is centralized logging. When you have many containers that are running in multiple different clouds, it's challenging to get all of those logs piped into one single pane of glass where you could see all of them and filter them. Third challenge is access into the containers. So as I stated before, this is Docker, and containers are all command line driven, and you would need a long list of commands to be able to connect to and manage them. In moving containers into production with IT operations teams, using tooling like the container management solution of Concerto will definitely help the adoption of containers into production environments. So how does this work? So Concerto's container native monitoring is a lightweight and transparent agent that installs easily onto your Docker host or Kubernetes cluster. In the diagram here, you see we have 3 containers installed on this particular host: a custom app, a web server running Nginx, and our container management module, or probe, that gets installed into the environment to gather information on the system and on the other containers to then send it to our solution that presents them in a very clean and sleek graphic interface. Our container management agent makes a one-way outbound connection to our SaaS platform. So there's no need for ingress routing or ingress firewall rules to be able to make this work, as long as there could be a SSL connection made outbound to our hosted SaaS solution. Then you could be online within minutes once our agent is installed. So next I'll go into a demonstration of the product to showcase its abilities. So this is our dashboard. This dashboard provides you with all the information you would need at a high level to understand what is happening in your environment. For hosts, we could see which hosts are online or offline, how many containers are running, and how many events are being captured across all of the hosts that are hooked into our solution. In the container section, you can see the containers that are running, stopped, or that are killed, which is a Docker process that happens when a container runs out of memory. If and when the killed count increases, you know that there's a problem, and our tooling can certainly help you dig into what that is. Under images, you can see all of the Docker images that are installed onto our platform, as well as the ones that are active and unused. Unused images are a common use for disk space filling up and not a very good use of resources, so keeping an eye on your unused images is very helpful. So we will go into the host section to view all of the online hosts that we have. I'm going to go into host 214. So here on the host view, you can see the health of the host, the amount of containers running on it, the Docker version, and the container management agent version that is installed here. So you get that right up front. Scrolling down, you could see insights into CPU utilization, memory utilization, as well as network in and out. On the right pane, you can see the most recent CPU statistics as of loading the page. So this will give you a snapshot of what the utilization was like at the time of this page loading. Host information with the operating system version, as well as the amount of containers installed, the network interfaces that are set up, as well as storage. It's very important to keep an eye on storage with a container solution, as images could fill those up pretty quickly. So here we could dig deep into what is on this host and the containers that are running on it. This host has our agent installed on it, as well as a CentOS container image that is running. You could see how long it's been up and the host IP name. You could filter by running, remove, stop, or killed. Here under images, you could see all of the images that were downloaded. We have a wide variety of open source operating systems currently downloaded onto this host with Ubuntu, CentOS, and Alpine. Under the events section, you will be able to see all of the events that have occurred on this host. This is a great way to get insight as to what is happening from the infrastructure perspective on your container host and the container itself. So digging into the actual container to go a bit deeper, you could view the CPU statistics on this particular container. This one's not very busy, but you could see that this can report on disk read writes and max network performance, as well as the CPU utilization of the container itself. When running containers in production, you may find that certain containers are running away due to poorly written code where the CPU spikes up and crashes or the memory crashes. So being able to dig into the actual container metrics themselves provides a great opportunity to debug and troubleshoot the issues that are occurring. You can change the time range of how far you want to go back, or change the resolution time to as little as 1 minute to get very fine-grained results. So here under details of this particular container, you could see the container ID, host name, environment variables, which is very important. Container solutions often use environment variables to plug in dynamic content, so that you could see that here, as well as any labels or drivers and restart policies. So here under the Execute tab, this provides us with the ability to connect into the container to run commands for debugging. So this can be done with Docker command line running some commands, but this tool will really give you some great insight as to what is happening with the container. So for example, I'll run a dmessage to get the kernel logs from the container. So inside this terminal session, you can go and see and look at everything that's been happening here to understand at a very low level what is going on with your containers. The terminal tab will give you an interactive view into the container, so you can open up a session as the root user to see everything that's going on in here. This is a full bash session, so you could go and look at logs, to see exactly what is happening. It's a great way to get visibility to speed up the production management process of a container. So we support Docker and Kubernetes clusters. We do have a way to install our agent on Kubernetes, and 54, this is a Kubernetes cluster. By going to containers, you could see all the K8s, pods, and sidecars and everything. So this is a great way to add on to your Kubernetes deployment to get better visibility into the images that are downloaded and captured from there. So digging into an Ubuntu container, running on Kubernetes, you could see all the Kubernetes specific environment variables and mount points that are very helpful when debugging. So next we will showcase our image area. So in images, you can see all of the images that are downloaded across your infrastructure. You can sort by the unused images to see all of the waste that's currently being consumed across your hosts. Digging into here, you can see this particular image is taking up quite a bit of space, almost a half a gig across the infrastructure. And you could see what is really entailed in this image. This particular image installs an Ubuntu instance, then opens up a bash command to run a stress test. Scrolling down here, you could dissect the layers of the image to see line by line what exactly is happening, which is very helpful. So from getting the Ubuntu latest to running an apt-get command to install a package and clean it up and go into the working directory. So here under events, you could see all of the infrastructure events that have happened within the infrastructure. Everything is logged here, so for security and compliance, you could understand who is running the dmessage command, who's attaching to a container. It's all loggable and traceable. Beyond events, we do have advanced logging capabilities. In this view, you will be able to take all of the data from all of your containers that are managed and view the standard output error logs from the containers. So as an example, I will drill into a particular container. To view everything that was happening here. We do have a feature where you can filter in on time. To key in on an exact time frame for logging. Kubernetes clusters generate a lot of logs. They're very noisy, much more noisy than a standalone Docker instance. So being able to key in on a particular host, container, and time frame will prove invaluable. This does auto scroll, so as new logs come in, it will automatically update. You can pause the live stream here or resume it, as well as search for particular keywords. So next we will go into our user management section. So if there are teams that are working together on a project, everyone within a particular account could view all the containers within that account, and you won't have to worry about having separate accounts for every user. In this particular organization, there are 3 users. It's very easy to add a user. You would just add a new user account and submit. You can lock out or unlock users, edit profile information, as well as send a user a password reset instruction. There are ways where there is a way that upon logging in that you can do self-service password, but this is an additional way. If you have a lot of users in an enterprise environment, this could be an easy way to send password reset instructions. So finally, we'll get to the fun stuff on how could you add this product into your account during our limited beta release. It's very easy. To install the agent, you would simply copy this Docker run command onto your clipboard and run that on your Docker host, and within 2 to 3 minutes, you will begin to see data showing up into the tool and can immediately access the terminal functions as well as the execute functions, the command execution functions, which are over here. This is where you can, for the execute section, put in terminal commands for your particular use case. So if you need to run a quick command on a container, you could do that here by adding in the command into these parameter fields. All right, so that concludes our demonstration. Next, I wanted to touch on our roadmap on where we want to go. Our planned roadmap includes Kubernetes orchestration management, where you could deploy and manage Kubernetes clusters from our single pane of glass, an alerting and notification engines to send SMS messages or emails based on alert thresholds that you define, more advanced log filtering to have more Lucene style syntax when parsing logs, an automated image management section that will clean up unused images that on a schedule that you define to free up your disk space, custom log retention policies, depending on your use case or compliance, how long you would need to keep those logs around. Running process detection to determine at a point in time what processes were running to spike up the CPU during a particular period. Resource tagging to be able to tag resources in large environments where you have potentially hundreds or dozens of clusters running. Tagging will certainly help you ease the burden of keying in on those large infrastructures, as well as user roles and governance to put users on certain projects into areas where they could only see resources that they are assigned to. For example, in a segmented or compliant environment, the development team would not see the production instance and vice versa. A lot of companies have governance rules around that, so that's something that we are looking into implementing. And next, we will turn it over to Q&A. Tanya, do we have any questions?
Sure. I do have a couple of questions, and I will remind the audience that if you have a question, there's a questions tab on the right-hand side of your screen, so that's where I'm looking for you. So one of the questions that I have in the box is, how do you install the agent on Kubernetes?
Okay, so to install the agent on Kubernetes, you would use a daemon set configuration, which we have, and we will be publishing our next release, which is scheduled for the next week, so be on the lookout for that. We could certainly work with you one-on-one before that if you would like to add your Kubernetes cluster in. It's a very easy install. It's a daemon set YAML file that you could just pipe into kubectl.
Okay, great. Next question, how secure is the terminal functionality?
So the terminal functionality uses messaging technology to feed all of the data from a TTY session on the host itself, or the container specifically, up to our SaaS solution where your web browser meets and basically connects to the messaging server that holds that information that then talks down to the system. So there is no direct connection into your container. It's all talking out and meeting in the middle in the messaging queue, and then commands are being sent back down. So there is no access. It's all secured over SSL. We've had our internal security team test it, and everything has passed so far. I don't anticipate any issues. So we really built the solution around security and being run in production environments. Great question.
Okay, I don't see any more questions in the queue, so in interest of time, I'll just remind everyone, if they're not looking at their screen, that we do have a container management beta group, and it includes a free trial of the solution until our official product release, and you get to be part of providing key feedback to our developers. So if you are interested in that beta, Chuck Dyer is your contact, and his email is on the screen. We'll make sure to send an email to you afterwards to follow up as well, so that you don't have to furiously write this down. But I do want to encourage everyone to participate, and with that, thank you, Chuck and Ron, for your time today, and I don't see any other questions, so I'm going to close out today's session and wish you all a great afternoon.